Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the Maishidia Foundation and Women on the Front Lines for having us today. Before we jump into the metaverse and the virtual world, as a Palestinian, as a human being, as someone today speaking at the Women on the Front Lines conference, I'd like to express a lot of sorrow, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness for humanity to have lost recently in a hideous, tragic crime. A woman, a journalist on the front lines, Shireen Abu Akleh. Usually when someone passes away, we ask for a moment of silence, but no. Silence is the last thing every woman on the front line needs. Silence is the last thing that the Palestinian people need right now, with continuous and ongoing crimes that need our very loud voices, but not only that, our very loud actions, because enough with just statements we issue. Let's change policies. Let's change Israel's outtake to how Palestinians are treated and how journalists are threatened. This should be a message for every journalist on the front line. Thank you. By the way, my name is not Rawya, so we are going to have to exchange a few things here. Here we go. So before I speak to our lovely panelists today, how many people do know what Metaverse is? Very few. Crypto? NFTs? Great. So let's start with Zina here. Zina will, if you can tell us what the hell is Metaverse? And what is this thing that for the last 6 months especially, like my friend's 9-year-old son was telling me about his most recent purchase of an NFT.
Yeah.
So what is the Metaverse and what is blockchain?
Yeah, I think I'll start by explaining a bit about blockchain.
Sorry, yours.
Yeah, okay. Like Ahsan?
Yeah.
Better? Okay. So I'll start by explaining what is blockchain. So blockchain is essentially, it's a decentralized system where we are able to record data in such a way that we cannot change the data or hack it. So basically it's a system, because it is decentralized, because in the same data, we have different copies across different computers, nobody can hack it. So if you try to hack one system, the other computers will basically forbid you from doing that, will stop you from doing that. And it is the underlying process that cryptocurrencies are built on. As for Metaverse, meta, it means beyond. It's beyond the universe, basically. If you look at the way we interact with each other now, on social media, it's either by text or chat or video. But if you go to Metaverse, it is beyond that. It is augmented reality, virtual reality, it's videos. It's basically connecting with each other on multi-dimensions, not only one. So this is mainly about Metaverse. It is, in my opinion, something that we should all look into, because there's a huge potential in that, whether it's for business or whether for learning, and so many things that we can utilize it for.
So if you want to simplify it for me, it's a virtual world then, right?
Yes.
Tell me if I'm wrong. So it's a virtual world where activities and art and things are happening.
Yes.
How safe is it? Is my first question that comes to mind. If just now Arwa and Huda asked a very good question outside, can you commit a crime in the Metaverse?
No, you can't commit a crime, but I mean, if you think about it, part of the Metaverse is already here. If you look at the games, for example, at Fortnite, Roblox, people are already spending hours playing these games, and anything could happen there. Some kids, they might get bullied as well, right, within like those games. So there's like 2 aspects of the story.
So that's a crime. Bullying is a crime.
Yeah, I know, but it's there anyway. You know, whether it's whether in the real world or in the digital world, it's there.
So in the real world, the police will come after you if you
Not
commit a crime.
necessarily.
Well,
No.
I hope the
In a
police
crime,
is
but
coming
I
after
mean,
you if you commit a
for
crime.
bullying.
Who comes after you in the metaverse?
I mean, you just took one aspect of it, which is a very small one in comparison to other things that we can do within the universe. So think about, for example, education. For me, this is a very important aspect because the way we are educating children now is very outdated for the way they want to learn things. So imagine that they enter the metaverse and the whole class, let's say they have a science class, and they just learn everything visually. They experience it as well. So let's think of how we can use this technology to our benefit, not the other way around.
Well, I hope we won't be seeing crimes in the metaverse, but you know, with social media, I can name for you a million crimes that got associated with it, sadly. Bullying is one of them, blackmailing, a lot of things happened, and maybe for while you guys are building the metaverse and are building this very exciting world for us, we take, you know, the crimes that could happen into consideration. Speaking of this world, Katharine Gordon from OBCIDO, when I think today of metaverse superstars, I think of Gary Vee, Mike Cuban, a lot of male names, not a lot of female. Actually, I can't think of one female in the metaverse world where she is like a superstar, like Britney is a superstar in singing, or like, you know, someone in politics. Where's this gap coming from?
Is my mic working?
No, you have to.
I really want to answer your question, but I need the mic first.
Katharine needs some mic help.
It's off? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So I think that my answer would be the same if we're talking about any industry that's male-dominated, which is a lot of industries. I think that the representation is obviously improving with time, but I think when we talk about the crypto space, tech, big tech companies, gaming, NFTs in particular, Discord is a new platform you guys should be familiar with for crypto and NFTs. All of these spaces are, unfortunately, and I think this, you know, we're getting into a lot of systemic things, we're getting into nurture, we're getting into, you know, why is the tech space itself male-dominated? So we need to address these things first, obviously. But I do think it's our responsibility to make sure, you know, everybody sitting here to educate ourselves about what's happening, to try to take part in Twitter spaces, to try to understand what are NFTs, to try to participate in, you know, get on OpenSea, download a MetaMask wallet, do all of these things so that, you know, when the advent of Web3, because I do truly think it's coming for all of us, when this happens, you're prepared and you are educated about it. I think 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when social media first came out, you know, we didn't really know what that was going to be. We didn't know that you would be able to have a business solely on Instagram. So I think it's kind of the same concept. I would really encourage everyone here to stay up to date so that we can increase the representation of women in the NFT space and in the crypto space and in the tech space. Because right now, Chaker's absolutely correct. We don't see a lot of representation from women who are major figures. Where we see representation of women is in the artists and the graphic designers and the, you know, I mean, we're a mostly female team working on these things now at OBCIDO. So it's kind of behind the scenes. What I'd really like to see is women on the front lines of NFTs and crypto. That's the goal. So I think increasing the representation should come from education and should come from just getting to know what these concepts are.
So we talked metaverse and about this gap. Another question would be there is the generation, especially people right now aged, let's say, 10 to 18, are they ready? Are they getting ready for the metaverse? And how are they getting ready? Why would a 9-year-old just get their phone and download the app? Is it made easy that much? Or is the education sector in need to step in now?
I think this is where it gets kind of scary for a lot of people because, I mean, first of all 2-year-olds have like iPads now. So this is one of the things, it's like, yeah, of course kids aged 10 to 18 are prepared. They've been prepared since they were 1-year-old. Screens are much more prevalent than when I was a kid, when you were a kid, when everyone was a kid. So I think when we talk about are these young adults, these kids ready to enter this kind of space, I'm not sure. I think they're probably more prepared. They probably understand the digital space better than we do. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be safe for them. And I think the question about is the metaverse safe is really interesting because obviously it should be our objective to protect them from things like bullying, from way worse things. I mean, somebody asked about genocide, things like that. I mean, these are really big questions and they're important questions. And I think if we don't make a serious effort to put in place protections that weren't on social media, yeah, we'll run into a lot of trouble. These kids will be exposed to a lot of stuff. We have to be careful.
Well, let's see what this generation has in place. I think we can have a talk in 25 years from now and see what they've done with it. Jennifer, yesterday, Dr. May said something to me on the side. She's like, but what is NFT? Like, try to explain it. And I looked at her and I'm like, I don't know myself that well. So, and you guys try to explain it to me all the time.
We're trying to explain it for everyone on the table yesterday, especially for Huda. So if I want to explain what's NFT,
please.
Simply it's non-fungible token. I know it's not that simple, so I just try to make it more simple. Chaker, do you own a painting at your apartment?
Yeah, several.
Yes, I know that. Better, Dr. May. So Chaker owns a painting at his house, and I know that he loves that because he decorates his house in that way, and I know that you look behind the artist who drew that painting. That's perfect. Now, Zina was talking about that virtual world. So let's say in a couple of years, we have an offices for OBCIDO up, and we want to decorate our house, our offices. What would we do? We need that art, Chaker. As simple as that. You will look behind us.
But this is a monkey.
This is a monkey, but this is Bored Ape. This is one of the most popular collections on OpenSea. It is a monkey, I know that. It's not that nice to put it at your office. But just look not only about the hype behind this NFT, look about the utility. There is a utility behind that. It's the community and utility. Everyone now look at the hype of the community, how many members we have in Discord. When we go on Twitter Spaces, how many members is following that project. But moving forward, Chaker, it won't be like that anymore. We will look at the utility behind that project.
So another question from Huda yesterday, which I really like. So when I own a painting, I can touch it. I can hang it. I can put it in a gallery. This thing I'm not touching. Like, this thing is literally
Huda, I didn't sleep yesterday because of your questions. And I went to your Instagram, and I saw that you are verified. What does that mean for you to be verified on Instagram?
I would answer this question.
Yeah, Rawya can answer
to
this.
avoid impersonation. Yeah.
Less or more, it's like a social status
Yeah,
as well.
of course.
Okay, same for NFTs. It will be your social status moving forward.
But if you look at it,
You know when you can have a digital art at your house, and you own it. And if you have this Bored Ape and Chaker has another Bored Ape, they're totally unique. Even though like another monkey will seem only smiling, it's different.
So this is where we get into the concept of, and please correct me if I'm explaining this wrong, 'cause she's more technical than I am. But the whole concept behind the NFT is that it's non-fungible. So every piece of the creation behind the NFT is being done in the blockchain, and every single, it's literally, quite literally a block of technology that's being developed, okay? And every time that's developed, it makes it completely unique. And there's many people working to make one NFT collection. Not only the art, not only to market it, which is what we do, but also to actually create it so that it's, so in the, what is the blockchain? I mean, that's a whole other thing. But in this like technological digital creation, it's completely unique. There are codes being developed, and there's teams of coders behind this being developed. The other thing is that when she talks about utility, it's that when you buy a painting, you're not necessarily part of an active community. You buy the painting from the dealer, you take it home, you hang it in your house. Maybe you know that you're going to have a glass of wine with the collector. Maybe you're going to talk to someone else who likes that painter. Who knows? But the idea behind the NFT is that you're suddenly part of this community, this online community of hundreds of people. that are all, hyping things up on the internet. You might have specific benefits. That could be monetary. That could be gifts. That could be anything.
It can be something else as well. I mean, there's a really good use case behind the NFTs, especially when you think about the Metaverse, where you will have your virtual, let's say, wardrobe. If you are a fan, for example, of Nike or Gucci or whatever, and you buy the original part, you would want to also show it off in the Metaverse, where you get also the digital copy of it. So this is another use case for the NFT, where you actually use it. Because people in the Metaverse, they would like to show off what they have. They would like to have their own identity as well. So this is actually one of the best business aspects out of the Metaverse. And Nike recently, they acquired a company called, it's a company they create like really nice digital art for 33 million, just for them to develop the shoes, the Nike shoes that will be launched the next season. And the first pair actually was sold for $130,000. So there are people who are interested in this. There are so many people who are really into this, and they believe in it. And they already think that this is, like, they are owning this piece means a lot to them, because at the end of the day, in an NFT, on the code, you can trace who is the first owner. And as a seller, you can also have a royalty fee. So every time it goes to a secondary market, you can still earn money out of it. So it's a win-win situation for everyone.
Thank you, Zina. So Rawya, your boss, actually, Mark Zuckerberg, was a huge active member of this Metaverse, and I remember the first time we saw his video a few months ago, we were like, my first impression was, where is the world going? Because we came out of 2 years in COVID, where we were talking to each other on Zoom, and that was our day-to-day life. And then now, Mark Zuckerberg came and said, I want to take it even a step forward, or 10 steps forward, where your entire life is happening in the Metaverse. Before I ask you my main question, do you think that in a few years we're going to entirely live in the Metaverse? Right now we're in hybrid with the Metaverse. Do you think we're shifting to a fully virtual existence?
I think Zina explained it so well and so simply, that the Metaverse is a logical evolution. We started by text, and when phones had cameras on, we started taking photos, and then video became the ultimate go-to product on anything online. The Metaverse is a journey. We're not definitely putting any years or any specific years that we will achieve the Metaverse switch or change in 5 years. That's definitely not. As Meta, we believe that this is a 10 to 15 journey. We're building products. We're upgrading our platforms to be more adoption friendly. As Zina mentioned, the brands started adopting. She mentioned also the education aspect, that people, because we passed through a pandemic, we noticed that there's the online learning being adopted massively, and it was very quick as well. So how can we get there? It's a constellation of products, platforms, and innovations as well. So it doesn't have to be in 2 years. It's like the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, I don't know, maybe somewhere else, but it's just the fact that we need to be realistic, that this is a journey. So many brands are involved, and it's not like Meta being the only company doing this. We have so many industry leaders being part of the journey, and we're very proud of the products and the innovations that we're building, like the VR headsets, the Instagram collectibles that we tested earlier this month in the US. So many things are happening, and we evolve. And as I said, it's a logical evolution that we are ready to go to. And I think if done right, we will achieve so many things, especially on the education level, on healthcare, and on the economic impact.
Thank you. Zina, in real life, I'm going to use the term, in real life, to become a millionaire or a billionaire, there's a journey to that. You have to get an education, you have to work hard, or you have to invent something. You have to work really hard for years in order to reach there, unless you win the lottery. Today, with the Metaverse and NFTs, we see people becoming millionaires overnight.
Yes.
This is what I'm...
This is true. This is real.
So literally, you see someone who created a great project and then it sells out and they make $10 million and it's there. Does this scare you or does this excite you?
No, this is actually very good because if you look at the world in general, there are so many people. There are so many people who don't have the opportunity to work or to get really good jobs and to achieve their goals. I look at cryptocurrency as a way that it really empowers people. It's from people to people without any government controlling that or deciding that this money will go to this group of people and so on. So I think it's extremely powerful. One really good use case that I can think of now is that during COVID, so many people went out of business. I mean, and so many people, they lost their jobs. If you look at Philippines, 2.5 million people, they managed to put food on the table because they played Axie Infinity, a game, which earned them $200 a month. So this is something that really helped them to survive during that time. So I'm a big believer in crypto, and I mean, people will become millionaires if they don't know how to manage their money, they will lose it. But at the end of the day, there's opportunity for everyone.
We've heard of times where someone's entire wealth that they worked with just disappeared, or it got hacked. Or is this because the infrastructure is very new, or is this because there are security gaps that we do need to address?
Most of them are scammers. I mean, nobody can take your crypto if you don't give them your private key. I mean, most of the people, they fell into this. They fell victims into other, like, someone might tell you, like, I'll give you more tokens, or I need your address, and they share their private key. So this is how they get hacked. But technically, if it's built on blockchain, it can be hacked.
So Katharine, Zina was talking about how the accessibility of this, when our world, a lot of parts of this world is still not connected to the internet. Not far away from here. I mean, even if I want to download a 1 gigabyte file in most parts of the Middle East, it will take me 10 hours sometimes to get that file through. So we are creating all these beautiful things. Meta is giving the tools for creators. OBCIDO is helping market. Zina is helping understand. But there is inequality there that's going to be so vivid, and you're going to feel left out. Like Meta, for example, created a Facebook 1.0 or something for people in countries with low connection. With the Metaverse and with NFTs and all this, how concerned are you of the gaps, economic, social, that will be created out of this fast, modern, technologically advanced sector?
I mean, yeah, I think it's also good to understand that that's a big question. It's good to understand that there are still other industries besides crypto and NFTs, so there will still be industries that people can participate in. I think there's been a lot of hype about this. I think for people who can participate in it, it can be very lucrative, it can be very valuable. I think there's excellent opportunities for graphic designers, for coders, for developers, for all of these different industries. So that's great. For people who are able to access, awesome. I think what you just said about Facebook, I mean, that is a step in the right direction, surely. You know, allowing people to access. I mean, us in Beirut, when we're there, I mean, we do have a lot of issues connecting, and we know that firsthand, and that does happen. But I think, you know, coming up with solutions to make things more accessible, while at the same time remembering that those social economic gaps, I mean, those are going to continue. I think when we talk about the internet, yeah, I think we have to kind of try to be inventive, be innovative, come up with solutions, but not forget that traditional art still exists and traditional industries still exist.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah, and you don't have to, not everyone has to participate in the NFT world. It's great for people who are into it, and I think it will eventually become kind of normalized. Like, I think we'll have a bubble, I do think it's going to burst, and then I think we'll interact with it like we interact with social media, and it'll be part of the world. Amen.
Jennifer, I like your career story, because you were in media, in traditional media. Then your mentor and trainer, Omar Andil, who's obsessed with NFTs and a pioneer in NFTs today, he sat down with you for what, a month?
Yes, only.
And you got it?
عمر serious مش كتير عمر بس إنه I'm making that happen.
So what kind of tools are, let's say Huda today after this panel is going to go and she needs to get into NFTs and maybe get a job with OBCIDO working with Omar on NFTs. Let's say that she's going to leave her journalism and move into NFTs. Are there courses available? Are there, or does she have to go to someone?
Chaker,
What's the journey?
It is really easy. I'll just tell you the way we made it at OBCIDO. If we look like 6 months ago, we were just dealing with Web2. And then, like you said, Omar indeed was really obsessed with Web3, and he started learning non-stop about NFTs, non-stop. And he made everyone learn about NFT, and it was so easy. All you have to do is just go online, go on YouTube, watch, learn, and go to Twitter Spaces. On Twitter Spaces, you'll find an NFT expert from all over the world that they will just drop an information for you, and you will get it, and everything will be easy. It's really accessible for everyone just to be a part of this new space. And it is so interesting because it's a very different space from Web2.
Cool. So since you talked about Twitter Spaces and their competitor Meta is sitting right next to you,
It's okay.
what are tools that Meta is making available for creators? And so the question is two parts, for creators and for non-creators, someone who has a Facebook account and wants to get into the metaverse and wants to create and everything. What are the tools available for them?
As I said before, it's a mix of platforms, products, and innovations like technologies. So we have the hardware part, which is the VR headsets that any user can user can purchase and use them, practice them at home. And I really stress on the fact that Jennifer mentioned, like, watch tutorials. It's a learning curve for everyone, even us as employees. Like, it's not something that we were born with the skill of understanding what is the metaverse and how can we get there. So it's a learning curve. We want to make it as human as possible because we're all in this together. And I believe the investment that we're doing on our side as Meta is giving creators the cutting edge tools and resources and education as well to help us build the metaverse. Because as Mark Zuckerberg mentioned in his keynote when he announced the new company vision and the rebranding, is that it's up to the creators and the developers to help us build the metaverse. And we cannot do this on our own. They are the key holders and they will initiate all of this transformation, which is, as I mentioned before, and it's a logical evolution that we need this creative content, these creative internet producers to help us get there.
Thank you. Zina, recently there was a tragic shooting in Texas in a school. Before that, there was another shooting just a few weeks ago. And when we look at a lot of these shooters, for me as someone just watching from outside, it looks like this person, this criminal, was playing a video game. And actually, it has been linked to video games in a lot of instances. And when I look even at a friend's son playing a video game, I'm like, he's gonna become a shooter, this guy. Like, they're training him, they're teaching him how to use a gun at age 6 and 7, and these are cool, available, products that are selling on the market. Now, when it comes to the blockchain and when it comes to NFTs, you are giving people easy money as well, from what I understand, because I'm not convinced that it's not easy money yet. For now, when I look at every money-making NFT story, there's a lot of work that goes behind it nowadays, but in a lot of instances, it's easy money. And easy money, usually my grandparents taught us that easy money will make you a gambler, will make you an irresponsible person, you didn't work hard to make this money. So my question is, how can we protect the current generation from all the downsides that could come with this exciting, amazing technology? And how can we avoid violence to be part of the crypto NFT community? And gambling I link it to violence as well, because it is just another form of economic violence.
This is a very good question. One thing that I do on the side is that I do workshops for women. I educate them, I give them workshops in Arabic. I educate them about what is blockchain, what is cryptocurrency, what are NFTs. And part of why I do that, because I want them to be aware what their kids are doing online, so they can actually provide them with the environment and support them. At the end of the day, it is the role of the parents to teach their kids to balance between virtual life and between real life. For the use of guns, I think it's not only, the problem is not only video games. I mean, most of the kids now, they buy toys, they sell them as toys. I think the problem is initially from there. It didn't start from the metaverse or from the games.
But it enhanced it. Because when we bought a wood gun, it doesn't have a sound, or even if it does have a sound, we were taught this is just
It's the same concept. It's like you're teaching them it's okay to kill. It's the same concept.
So, but now it got enhanced. So this tool of crime, we gave it I'm not saying a gun is good in any ways. A gun should not be in the hands of anyone. But when you enhance that experience, now you put your VR set and you jump in a world where you're actually shooting people and you see them falling apart and everything. So we enhanced it. Can we protect the metaverse and can we protect the blockchain related technologies from being enhanced negatively?
I think yes, in a way, if we focus more on developing more beneficial programs and games, because obviously the way we create the game, it makes a lot of difference. So perhaps instead of killing somebody, maybe we create a game where we can help others, and the kids they earn out of that. So I think it's more about the programmers and where people programming companies, what they can do.
Yeah, and I believe also policies in countries need to be put in place relating to the metaverse. Katharine, you come from an art background. You studied art history, you've worked in the arts. Are you worried about the future of the arts, or are you excited for the future of the arts?
The future of the arts, it's a singular thing, linear thing. So art's never been linear, and it's not like we're looking at a straight evolution. I know that they like to teach Western art history like that, but that's really not the case. We've seen art pop up in many different ways in many different places all over the world for millennia. So when we talk about the future of art, that's fairly general. I think we have to talk about I'll say what's interesting for me. What's interesting for me is that very, very quickly, since this thing started, which was not that long ago, it's only been a couple of years since this boom has been happening, what we've seen is the emergence, and especially recently, of the term traditional art. And again, I just want to reiterate that I think that's really interesting because we're making this distinction between something that is past and something that is current. And I think we'd be very remiss to forget that there are many artists still working with sensorial mediums, sculpture, painting, performance art, dance, music, poetry. All of these things are still very important. I think what we're gonna see is a very interesting mix of the traditional art, so the plastic art, with the digital space, because what we're already seeing is that NFTs can be both virtual and real. We've worked with painters who have made their paintings into NFTs, so it's a different way of owning that painting. The NFT space, I think, presents a new set of sort of seemingly infinite possibilities for art, which is very exciting, of course. And I think it would be wrong to dismiss the NFT space in terms of the arts. I think there's a lot of creative potential. Like I said, I think for graphic designers and artists, there is a lot that they can do. So it is exciting, but I would say, if we can not forget about also just the beauty of the smells, the textures, the feeling of art, which is why I fell in love with art, and I think many people here love art. You put a painting in your home and that's something very special, particularly if it means something to you. So yeah, I think just moving forward, we need to be careful, about how we refer to these things, but also how we think about art as a trajectory. It's not a linear trajectory, and there will still be traditional art.
Good.
Can I comment something about NFTs? NFTs in general is not only art. now people can own fractional piece of like real estate because of NFT. So it's like crowdfunding method where you give people NFT that represents their share in an apartment, for example. So most people, they have the impression that NFT is only art, but it's not only that, it's way beyond that. And we can really use it to amazing things. It's one of like now we have this program where if anyone buy our cryptocurrency and they stake it, they earn one NFT worth $450, for example. And if they stake this NFT, they get passive income for life. So, I mean, this is amazing. I mean, one apartment might have like 10, 20, 30 people having ownership of this apartment.
But what do you mean by apartment? Like,
Really
I buy an
physical
apartment
one.
to move into it. What do I do
For
with this one?
investment, it's like a passive income. You get the tokens in your wallet, and then you exchange them to fiat.
I heard Rawya has a place next to Chanel in LA, in the metaverse though.
I don't.
Thank you, Zina. Jennifer, if right now I'm someone who have a concept, so let's say I want to create an NFT, and I'm clueless about it, and I come to you guys and I say, I want to start an NFT project. Can you briefly just mention the main stops of the life cycle of an NFT project?
Yes, definitely. So if you want to start with an NFT project, you should have a roadmap, which is really important. By roadmap, I mean what is the utility behind your project, before even thinking about what's the art. Because the art is like, it will go, but you have a roadmap that you want to work on. So as Chaker, if you come to OBCIDO and you sit with us and you tell us, I have an NFT project, first thing, we will work with our designers on your art. We will start working on building your social presence. By social presence, I don't only mean it's on Instagram or Facebook. Mainly we don't, sorry, but we're not really on Facebook when it comes to NFTs. We work more on Twitter, we work on Instagram and on Discord. You know, Discord, it used to be for gamers. Now it's for the NFT community where we can communicate, do giveaways, play. We always communicate on Discord. It's like WhatsApp, definitely like WhatsApp. So when we're done with the art, when we're done with our roadmap, we build a website and we start working on marketing. Marketing takes a lot of time when it comes to NFT. And like, we don't have so much time. Like, the project can take 6 months. We really need to work day to day. And Omar always tell us that the NFT community don't sleep. And we really can't sleep because we're like working to hype the community. We're working to keep our community really in urge to buy that NFT.
Please get some sleep. And that's your
We should
physical
ask Omar
well-being.
to let us sleep, honestly.
I think he's watching us actually, so we can say hi to him.
Rawya, so Meta and other social platforms have literally given so many tools. You went through them with us. Where is this whole thing going eventually? Are we looking into this being very accessible? Are we looking into this is the new thing that's going to be, you know, advanced more? Or is this a hype that's going to eventually disappear?
Of course, I think the whole journey will include new things and new perspectives. So by the end of 2022, we are going to invest around $1 billion for creators to basically make them earn more money through their Instagram and Facebook. We're seeing also the content on our platforms have changed. We have our Spark AR studio where creators are actually leveraging that, creating new content and educating their fans and their community about new content that they can learn from and also get it shared on their own social platforms. Again, it's a journey, and you will hear us launching so many new products as we evolve. We have a few in the market. We have a bunch of content creators that we do work with already that are creating content, whether in Arabic, in English, in French, in every language. And I'm stressing about the Middle East because we love the Arabic content. And again, the content creators are not people that are basically just creating content for the sake of sharing their fashion collection, but more of the artists and the creative people. So yeah, you will hear about lots of products, lots of tools that we can leverage in the next few months.
Thank you. So they asked me to switch to Arabic, but the sad part is I don't know what NFT is in Arabic. I don't know what Metaverse is, but رح نحكي بالعربي هلا. إذا في حدا عنده أسئلة من الحضور, let's do خلينا ناخذ أسئلة and يلا. تفضل. Yeah, both of you. The microphone is coming. You guys have a lot of questions.
Hello.
Hi.
My question is for Rawya, and I'm just very, very intrigued at something that you said. You said this is the natural evolution of
Logical,
content creation, right?
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, because what seems to be the evolution that we're talking about today, whether it's crypto or NFT or the metaverse, it's as if this evolution is closing in and living in this virtual world and kind of leaving this tangible world that we're living in today. So the more content that's created on the metaverse, the more we're going to spend more time alone, and maybe buying some NFTs to impress our friends on the metaverse. So I just wanted to understand a little bit more about what you coined as a natural evolution.
Of course. It's an interconnection between the physical world and the virtual world. You cannot avoid or dismiss the fact that the physical world exists. So the whole metaverse evolution is basically bridging the gap. For example, let's take a very simple example, and this is a very cool video that we actually launched when we had the rebranding. You are today in Amman, and your friend is in Japan watching a concert. The whole metaverse experience through the VR headsets, you can be present in the concert with your friend. It's not a complete change, it's just an opportunity for you to be with that friend. The whole education system or healthcare, when you are training doctors through robotics technologies and so on, you get the chance to train these doctors through the VR headsets with minimal risks, limit your travel time, so benefit from the time. It's literally a facilitation. We cannot dismiss both parts because they're very essential, but it's just the innovation that we're evolving in.
If I may, just one more question. It's on a different topic. And it's, of course, as a journalist, former journalist, we're very happy that today social media platforms are democratizing access, to information. But my question to Metaverse is kind of linked to Chaker's comment earlier about, violence and this virtual world connecting with the real world when it comes to things like school shootings, etc., and New Zealand shooting and all of that. But I wanted to understand a little bit more about, it's a clear red line is, like when you ban any images of violence or any controversies. But Metaverse seems to be, or Meta, is taking more of a stand, shadow banning anything that it deems politically sensitive, specifically when it comes to the Palestinian struggle today. So I just wanted to understand a little bit more on your guidelines when it comes to Facebook and Instagram.
I would like to take this offline with you because this is like a very anticipated topic when we are in Amman. But honestly speaking, we have a clear community standards, and we work a lot with news partners, and I'm sorry, this is off subject. We work with lots of news organizations in Palestine. I do personally work with them every single minute. As we're speaking now, I got an inquiry. So we have clear community guidelines, we call them community standards. And it's just when you don't comply with the community standards, the content automatically gets removed. So we can talk about this offline. I just don't want to...
So I would like you to please ask Meta to remove all the footage from yesterday when settlers in Jerusalem were calling for Shireen with very bad names. I would love to see. This is when we... And this is not to you as Rawya. I know you and we've spoken offline, but I'd love if these community standards are fair and just to every part of a conflict, to all parts of the conflict, and especially now we started this panel by agreeing to Shireen Abu Akleh and the safety of women on the front lines. So speaking of that, yesterday we saw settlers calling horrific names to a victim of this horrific crime. So I would love to see Facebook deleting all these videos and closing down these accounts, just like other Palestinian accounts have been closed. And thank you for your efforts. We'll take another question. Yeah. Sorry.
سؤالي بكل موضوع الميتافيرس وكل شيء بالعالم الافتراضي لقينا في دراسات الآن تتحدث عن الآثار النفسية المدمرة للأشخاص نتيجة التعامل مع مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي، والست اللي شهدت بالكونغرس على التأثير السيء لفيسبوك وإنستغرام خصوصاً، واللي بيؤدي لانتحار عدد كبير من الشابات المراهقات. سؤالي شو هي الضمانات اللي ممكن نتوقعها مشان الحفاظ على المنتل هيلث لكل من يستخدم هاي الوسائل الجديدة؟
Great. I'll translate the question quick to Katharine, because this is, so amid everything we're talking about, how can we ensure the well-being of mental health for users of the metaverse and of these platforms when we have seen users actually have a downside with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter?
You're asking me?
If you'd like to take that.
Sure. Well, when we talk about mental health in the metaverse, the first thing I think of is isolation, and I think isolation is something very dangerous. It can be. Anecdotally, I think that actually video games have also. We need to check statistics, because what I've heard is that video games are actually linked to less. Producing less violence because it's an outlet, right? So we need to check these things.
We will check.
But I think isolation is a big issue, and I think isolation is we've seen that contribute a huge amount to shootings in America, if we want to talk about that, and other acts of violence, especially if it's a lone, one person acting alone. So I worry about isolation, I do. I worry about losing touch with the physical world. I think that there's so much to be said for interpersonal, like sensorial interactions, talking to someone, seeing a smile, giving a hug. So I don't want to lose these things because we're spending all of our time in the metaverse. But I think, again, and my mother always says everything in moderation, including moderation. So I think we need to find balance. I think we need to find a way to interact with this space, keep those very important communal ties that, unfortunately we don't have as much in America as we do here in Beirut and Amman and the Middle East in particular, but those family ties, communal ties, ties to your friends, being in social spaces. But would it be really cool to attend a concert in the metaverse with your friend from Tokyo and you're in New York? Yeah, that would be really objectively kind of cool, and you could interact and see each other and you'd be avatars. And so I think, there's just so much potential, but I think, I'm very much someone who is definitely concerned about isolation and people spending too much time alone on their computers.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Can I also just add on the whole mental health issue on social media? I think there's also a user awareness and knowledge and education that there's a time spent, like the average time spent on social media is very essential. So we do have like our parental control resource hub where we educate parents, we educate the youth, because we don't allow kids to be below 13 on our platforms. For example, I know this is the joke, but some people actually misuse our platforms, and this is something we anticipate. But our job is how can we be part of the whole educational element, and we do have trusted partners. I can give you a very good example. In Lebanon, we do have a very good strategic partnership with Embrace, which is a suicide prevention NGO based out of Beirut. We do work with lots of trusted partners to educate people about mental health and the misuse of social media. So I think it's always good to see what social media platforms are doing on the other side. The most important part as well, we have a global and amazing community, including Facebook groups. And I can name so many that are in Lebanon, in Egypt, in the areas where women are underrepresented, where let's talk about divorced women, for example. There's a group in Egypt that is called Confessions of Married Women and Divorced Women, where people actually share their knowledge and support each other from a mental health perspective. So we do have these groups already, and we want also to elevate the voices of these groups into the metaverse to basically build a more inclusive community and make sure that mental health is at the core and a priority.
Thank you. I'll take one quick question, and yeah, and then we're gonna go for lunch. That's good.
We need it.
الحديث كله عن موضوع الميتا، عن موضوع الفضاءات الخارجية اللي نحن مش شايفينها. في عنا الميثاق العالمي لحقوق الإنسان اللي هو وقع عليه كل دول United Nations ونظمت هالعلاقات على مدى الزمن. الميتا اللي عم نحكي عنه والكلاود اللي فوق اللي مش شايفينها وكل هالادفانسمنت التكنولوجيكال ادفانسمنت، يا هل ترى all this happened بالوقت اللي كان فيه التطور التكنولوجي أسرع بكتير من اخذين القرارات legislations انها تنظم هالفضاء اللي صار فيه ازدحام، اللي صار فيه a lot of information, billions and trillions of information. ومن جهة ثانية أو النقطة الثانية اللي بحب أسألكم فيها، هل في إمكانية بهذا الوقت من اللي قطعنا شوط كبير in the technology إنه يصير في تنظيم للعلاقات الإنسانية أو the human rights of the planet؟ يعني وين حقوق الإنسان من كل هذا اللي هو الأساس من كل المشاكل اللي عم نشوفها whether Facebook or any other panels أو أي منصات تانية بدون تنظيم؟ أنا شخصياً بلاقي إنه الموضوع بصفي it's about multinational organizations مين مسيطر على إيش. فهل في توجه من هذه الكونغلوميريتس العالمية إنهم يعملوا هذا التنظيم؟
I think I'll give this answer before. Would you like to answer?
Yes, I would like to answer this. We are talking about 46 billion industry. I mean, this is like, it's already happening. People are investing there and they're building platforms there. In Metaverse, or in general, this space that we are talking about, you can be whatever you want to be and you can live the life that you want to live. So I think this is what so many people, they have, like they really cannot express themselves and live the way they want. I understand your point regarding human rights. It's a very big and valid point. But if we look at it in a way that what are the kind of relationships that we get from the metaverse, how people will become more connected together, how they can be themselves regardless it's in the physical world or in the metaverse. People can be whatever they want to be. So just imagine that you give them the tools, the imagination to build whatever they want. So we're letting, like, I think this is like a very important human right, is to be yourself and to express yourself fully and be given all the tools to show it.
Thank you, Zina. Thank you, everyone, for attending this panel. I'm told it's lunchtime right now. I want to thank our panelists and see you in the metaverse in some concert or something. And enjoy some NFT shopping, guys.